Hi, so wow, those sound panels are falling apart, but I'm gonna take you today on a behind the scenes tour of how I would go about doing a studio, like a typical studio photo shoot of a board game. And the board game that I'm doing today is Pendulum. So I know I showed you recently about the creative side, but one also very, very important side is of course doing product photo shoots in terms of like pictures that you would put on for Amazon or for web stores, whatever you need that needs just like a generic picture with a white background. So the reason why product photo shoots are so important to practice with is because it teaches you composition. So I like to start off with like all the components and then start isolating them one by one. So first off, actually I have this ream of white paper that I will link down below. It's a very, very cheap set that you can use for pretty much anything and it's very versatile. So I have that set right behind me. And then I also have those clamped down, or have the ream of paper clamped down on either side. And then start off in terms of composition, I have the board game right in the center. So that starts it off because that's our hero of the shot, that's our main subject. And then we have to accent the sides, instead of just putting them flat on the floor, I actually put them vertical. So these are all the player boards. And what I'm using to hold them up, actually, if you can see here, are my Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are standing up one by one. I'm also using plastic card holders that I also link down below. And then that's also a like a tripod holder just to prop it up a little more straight and even. So that's the left side. I have all the player boards laid out there. I also put Drink here, if I'm saying that correctly, the Insidious up front because he's a dragon and I feel like dragons are matching not only the main artwork here, but they are more enticing than the other ones. So he's in front, and then on the right side to help balance out the vertical stands on the left, I also put more of the boards on the right side. I have the Automa board behind there, and then I also have the achievement cards in front. And lastly, I have the main board here to take up majority of the white space here. And now I'm going to fill up the left side, the middle, and the right side with components, along with, hopefully if I have enough, I also want to put some more pieces on the board as well. Okay, so since I have the achievement board on the right side here, I'm also going to lay out all the achievement cards, as many as I can, along the right side to fill up all that negative space. And plus, I really want to show off a lot of the unique backs that they have here. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay those all out along this corner. And that is what it's gonna look like. This part may be cut off a little bit, and if so, I'm just actually going to remove those cards completely because I made this the edge of the frame here. Now I'm also putting the sand timers right in the middle, but for some variety, I'm also going to take the purple sand timer and put it on its placement here, and then black of course over here, and then green over there, just so Stonemaier has some options of whichever one they like most. If they want to see it right in the center, then they have that. If they want to see it being used, played on the board, then they have that option as well. Okay, and here is the final setup. So I added in the timer along with the timer track, added a call council card to the left over here, and then I added all those meeples that are lined up nicely. And I also added in like the each character color marker along the sides here to fill up that rest of that negative space. I have the purple timers on the board. I have the player order markers up here, the voting tiles to fill in that white space there. And then lastly, I'm going to straighten those up by using some forceps over here. But by using these, I'm going to go ahead and straighten up each of these towers of all the blue, of the red, blue, and yellow, which also goes in the same order as here. So red, blue, yellow, and I'm trying to keep that consistent over here. And since these have to do with the player board, I'm also keeping them close to that as well. And then also on the board, I have the map tiles along with each color map, so people see a variety of what's to come for the cards here. I have the achievement token on its achievement card, the achievement deck, and that is the final photo. Okay, so my main takeaway from this whole behind the scenes, like the main big picture from this, two things. One is you're not gonna have this composition in your head. There's no way I visualized all of this prior to even taking the photo. However, I'm playing with it as I go. And one kind of general guideline that you can use is to start big and then go small, which is exactly what I did, right? I started off with the board game, right? So I started off with the main board in the center, and then I added in the sides, and then I'm just filling in all of the negative space as I go. So I added the main board in the center, and then I start adding in the accent pieces, which are always going to be the cards and the tokens and the meeples, along with like little individual unique counters, and of course the main hero of the piece, which is going to be the sand timers. So all that I'm using it to fill in the space that's left over from all of the big pieces. That's the main takeaway. And the other thing to note is to never ever half-ass it, especially if you're doing client work. This picture and like the photos that you take is a reflection of your portfolio and the type of work effort that you have, right? So forceps come in great handy for using all this, especially when you're trying to fine tune the positioning of different pieces and so forth. And also think about it, like every single person that's looking to purchase this game is going to look at your photo prior to purchasing it. So if they notice little things are off here, that's going to reflect the effort that you put in. So just make sure that you're fine tuning every single piece and structure in your overall composition. Okay, another thing I wanted to mention is the way the light is directed. So here I have overhead lighting. Now overhead lighting is actually one of my favorite types of lighting. And especially for product photography, a lot of the shadows get eliminated. If anything, they get diminished all the way down. So you can, if you look carefully here, you can see a small tiny shadow like right around here, right behind the sand timer. But instead of being casted towards one side, all the shadows, right, since the light is pointing downwards, there's actually very, very minimal shadow. And the lighting looks a lot more dramatic, which is a lot more of my own personal preference. On top of that, if you look at the pieces here, they don't only not only do they look dramatic, but there's a lot more depth to them. So the way the light is kind of just shining downwards, it adds a lot more of that 3D depth that you're able to see in the photo. Okay, so now we get to actually the fun part, which is individual components. So now we're gonna strip everything down and then start going section by section. Here's what's important about doing individual section of pieces. Right now my light is still going from above. So I'm adding in this light stick here, super bright. And the reason for that is because it adds a nice, and the reason for that is because it adds this nice little sheen over the top of all the meeples here, especially since they have like a shiny little plastic to it. So if you see here, I'll show you in the photo as well, it provides a very, very nice shiny contrast to the top of the meeples. And on top of that, my camera settings right now, so I switched on over to a macro lens. That way you can capture all the details of the individual components. So I have a 100mm macro that's attached to my camera, and I also set it so that way the f-stop is around f18. That way you get as much detail of the components in focus as possible. But because of that, everything becomes very, very dark, which means in turn, I have to turn up this light stick very, very bright, and also have to make my main light as well extremely bright. And then since we are naturally inclined, I feel like, to like symmetry, I have everything lined up just like I did originally. However, I'm also going to take some angles from here. So right in the front, make sure everything is lined up perfectly. So one's going to be from this angle, and then one, I like it from this angle as well to show all of the different sides of all the meeples. Okay, so next up are all the resources. Every board game always has some type of resources, typically like this, right? But unless requested by the publishers themselves, you normally don't have to take pictures of individual cubes because A, that would be redundant. B, ask yourself as a customer, would you be interested in seeing individual pictures of the cubes? Probably not too. And C, overall, it's a bit boring. So what would be more interesting is seeing how these cubes are being used. And a good way to do that is by using the player boards, because that's exactly how these cubes are being used in Pendulum. And then since we already used the dragon for the main cover photo of the overarching game, we're gonna switch it up and use different player boards so we can show more variety to the player boards, as well as them being used in conjunction with the player cubes and other tokens like this. Here I have one main player board off the center, so that will be our base. And then I have individual resources that are included in each one here. I also included the starter markers here for each resource lane. And then I added some cards in for some variation, different colors across each, leaving an empty space to show you that, oh, here's where you slot in cards underneath. I have the council phase card, and I also wanted to show that this is an advanced player card. So here we have the advanced statement here showing that this is the advanced side of the player board, along with their corresponding player reference card. And then I have the resources on the right side still. I have extra meeples, I have the marker, I have extra meeples, a marker, some voting tokens on the side. So overall, what this is showing is just an example of how the player board would be structured. Again, one light from the top. I kind of want one light coming up from the bottom, so it has a nice little gleam towards the meeples in the center here. Now, one other thing I forgot to mention is that I'm also using an acrylic panel. So this is actually really amazing. Think of it as like a reflective surface. It's kind of like a subtle mirror. Depending on the materials that you're using, you can see a reflection of the actual subject inside the mirror. Here you won't see it as much because of the, naturally the cards right here aren't reflecting across anything. But if you were to use like a meeple across it, then usually you can kind of see like a reflection of it faintly in the photo. So I have that along with the light stick in front to show a shiny glimmer, and then I'm taking a photo from this angle as well as this angle for some variety. Next up are the player boards. So since I've already done the other two in other photos, I wanted to show the last 3 player boards here. So now I have them all stacked up with the card holder, 1, 2, 3. However, they're very spaced apart because I want the focus here to be in the middle, but I still want to be able to see parts of the front and the back. Now next up, I could put cards on the ground just like this, kind of flat on the surface, but that would be boring. So instead, I decided to take some painter's tape and then prop them up just like this. So now you can clearly see the reflection for each card. So this comes out very, very nice and clean. So I'm just gonna push that back a little bit, try to align those perfectly. And this would be one of the shots as well. So see, that's why I love the acrylic surface, because it provides a nice clean reflection just like that. This one's very clear cut. Hi, new day today. So we're gonna wrap up today's shoot by going into each quadrant of the board and then finishing off with the Atoma, and that will be a wrap. Okay, so from here on out, it is fairly simple and straightforward. I'm pretty much just going to zoom in on each quadrant so you're capitalizing on the major actions from each square. Unlike the green quadrant, this one I want to show a ton of players. So now we have maximum 5 players here, all in different quadrants or all in different sections of the resources. And then I'm also going to flip the timer over and then take a photo from there. So we're going to flip that over and take the shot just like that. Now for the purple sand timer, I'm doing this one a little bit different. Again, I'm always adding in some variation for each and every one. So for this one, I want like a straightforward view. So you get the sand timer this time instead of centered on the left side. And then you still get a little bit of peak over here on the right side. So you can still see the timers and how the markers and how they're being used in terms of priority over here. And then on top of that, specific to the purple quadrant, you don't have as many workers here normally during gameplay. And then if you do, they would be grande workers. So in order to match that gameplay sequence, I'm also adding in the same representation over here. Okay, and the last one on the map here is going to be in this quadrant, which is just the map. So this one I'm gonna do overhead. And instead of just making it completely overhead, just like this, that's a little bit flat. So to give it a little bit more depth, I'm going to pull that angle a little bit this way and take the shot right about here, along with using my light to give that little glimmer, a vertical glimmer across the top of the cards over here. So it's going to be positioned just like this. And for the final shot of the day, so here is the Atoma. I set up for the Atoma, so I have green markers and orange markers there. I have the scoring sheet or scoring card for the easiest difficulty level here, and then cards splayed out. That way they would match as if it would be a real game. So all that is centered over here. I also have the 3 cards which indicate like a summary of how you would play the Atoma, along with what the card back would look like over here. And there is some negative space here, but I don't know what to fill it up with yet. Maybe I'll just take some cards and just make it a discard pile over here. Another helpful tip too, so when you're working with cards, if you were to put it directly overhead, you see how it's super shiny here and you can barely read like the text. So one way to fix that is to actually angle your light so that way your light is shining it from this direction over here. And then that helps diffuse light a little bit more away from this harsh glare that you see in the card. And that was a step-by-step guide on how I take studio photos. So I hope you found all that helpful as I walk you through it step by step. If there's anything you want to see in particular, let me know down in the comments below. If you found this video helpful and you want to see more behind the scenes photos, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And if there's anything else that you want to see, please let me know down in the comments below. And with that, I will see you all in the next video.